Hey, what's up, Zana Vibes family? Welcome back to the channel. I'm so glad you're here with us today. Whether you're a longtime follower or just tuning in for the first time, you're in for a treat. Today we're diving into something truly exciting, the deadliest martial arts fighters of all time. We're talking about the legends, the warriors who dominated their fields with unmatched skill, precision, and fearlessness. These fighters have pushed the boundaries of martial arts and left their mark on the world in ways that will blow your mind. So grab your headphones, get comfy, and let's jump into the world of these legendary combatants who've redefined what it means to be a true martial artist. And hey, if you love what you're hearing, make sure to hit that subscribe button, give us a thumbs up, and leave a comment below. I want to hear your thoughts on the deadliest fighters of all time. Your support helps us bring even more captivating content to the channel, so don't miss out. Let's go.
Hey everyone, welcome back. Ready for another deep dive?
Always ready to get into it.
Today, we're tackling a question that's been debated for ages, really. Who are the deadliest martial arts fighters of all time?
Yeah, that's a big one.
And we've got a ton of sources to help us figure this out. Rankings, expert opinions, and even some deep dives into specific fighting styles.
It's not a simple question, though, is it?
Right. It's not just about, like, raw power, you know?
No, not at all. I mean, technique, strategy, mental fortitude, even the philosophies behind the fighting styles, it all plays a part.
Exactly. And you know I love a good underdog story. Some of the names that popped up in our research, you wouldn't believe it. We've got a boxer known more for speed than, like, brute force.
Oh, interesting.
And a female fighter who dominated multiple combat sports.
Wow.
So we're going way beyond just listing names and stats, right? We really want to understand what makes these fighters so effective, so dangerous, so deadly.
We need to get into their approaches, their strengths, the subtleties that make them legends.
Okay, so let's start with a name everyone knows. Bruce Lee. I mean, everyone's heard of him. But what made him so revolutionary in the world of combat?
Well, Bruce Lee's impact, it goes way beyond just his physical skills. His philosophy, Jeet Kune Do, it was a real game changer.
Okay, so back then, a lot of martial arts, they were like stuck in these really rigid traditional forms.
Exactly. But Lee, he emphasized adaptability, being like water, flowing around opponents' strengths, exploiting their weaknesses.
It wasn't about mastering like a set of techniques. It was about being able to react and adapt in the moment.
Right.
That's what made him so unpredictable.
Precisely. He believed in using what worked, regardless of the style. And that's what made him so dangerous. He wasn't limited by a single discipline.
Yeah, he could fight at any range, right?
Exactly. Blending, striking, and grappling, always a step ahead.
It's almost like he was playing chess, always thinking like several moves ahead of his opponent.
A great analogy. Now let's contrast Bruce Lee's fluidity with another icon of power, Mike Tyson. Both deadly, but in such different ways.
Mike Tyson, youngest heavyweight champ ever. I mean, the name alone was enough to like intimidate opponents.
Tyson was raw aggression, pure knockout power.
Closing the distance, those devastating combinations, brutal body blows.
The force of nature.
Two distinct approaches to combat, both incredibly effective. It really highlights the diversity we're going to see in this deep dive, right?
Absolutely. We're going to see fighters from various disciplines, each with their own unique blend of skills and strategies that make them incredibly dangerous.
I think that's what's so fascinating to me, you know. It's not just about who's the strongest or the fastest, but who can apply their skills most effectively in a fight.
Exactly. Now, as we move beyond these big names, we're going to see even more variety. Fighters who specialize in specific disciplines and revolutionize combat with their unique approaches.
Like Rickson Gracie, for example. His mastery of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, I mean, it proved that you don't have to be like a heavyweight brawler to be deadly.
The Gracie family, Rickson leading the charge. They really changed how people saw what a deadly fighter could be. Their focus on leverage and submissions, using an opponent's weight against them. Size isn't everything.
It must have been a shock to the martial arts world at the time, you know, seeing a smaller fighter controlling and defeating much larger opponents, not through like brute force, but through technique and strategy.
It was a real paradigm shift.
Yeah.
And speaking of unique approaches, Brakal Banchamak, representing Muay Thai, the art of 8 limbs.
Those kicks and knees are no joke. I've seen some Muay Thai fights and the power they generate is incredible.
Bukha, his style, perfect example of Muay Thai's devastating elegance.
Right. They use their entire body as a weapon. Fists, elbows, knees, shins.
And those strikes, they're so powerful, they can target an opponent from so many angles.
Yeah, it's a fighting style you definitely don't want to underestimate. Now, things get really interesting, I think, when we move into the era of mixed martial arts MMA, where fighters have to be well-rounded, mastering a variety of disciplines to succeed.
It became the proving ground, a melting pot of styles. Fighters were forced to adapt and evolve to survive. Fedor Emelianenko, for instance.
Yeah, Fedor. His decade of dominance, it's a testament to his well-rounded skills. Striking, grappling, takedown defense. A true mixed martial artist.
You could take the fight wherever it went. Embodied that adaptability Bruce Lee talked about.
But in the brutal world of MMA.
Exactly.
And yet, even within MMA, you have specialists who reach the very top. Khabib Nurmagomedov, for example. His grappling, it was legendary, completely smothering his opponents.
Khabib's style was all about pressure and control, dictating the pace of every fight, taking opponents down, wearing them out.
It was like watching a python slowly constricting its prey. You knew it was coming, but there was almost nothing you could do to stop it.
A master of his game plan. Few could break it.
Yeah.
And then you have Anderson Silva. Completely different approach. Known for his elusive striking, his ability to avoid damage. It was almost supernatural.
Silva was a puzzle, you know? Unorthodox movement, finding openings, counter with lightning speed. It was mesmerizing to watch.
Master of timing and precision. Using feints and footwork. Creating openings most fighters wouldn't even see.
So we've seen incredible physical skills, the mastery of different techniques, the ability to adapt. But there's another aspect to deadliness we can't overlook. The mental game.
Oh, absolutely. The mind of a fighter is just as important as their physical abilities.
It's about mental fortitude, focus under pressure, adapting mentally to unexpected situations. Our sources highlight Georges St. Pierre, GSP, as a prime example of incredible mental strength. Coming back from injuries, overcoming adversity, always finding a way to win.
GSP's dedication, his discipline, his analytical approach, it was remarkable. He studied his opponents, broke down their strengths and weaknesses.
Always in control, always thinking, always adapting.
But even the strongest minds can falter. Ronda Rousey and the struggles she faced after her losses. Even the most dominant fighters can be vulnerable.
It shows how crucial that mental game is to success, right? It's not just about physical talent. It's about bouncing back, learning from defeats, maintaining that mental edge. It's a crucial lesson, you know, and it goes way beyond the ring. That mental game, it's important in any field where you're facing challenges and pushing your limits.
I couldn't agree more. Resilience, adaptability, controlling your emotions, these are all valuable skills. Now, I know you're fascinated by all the different fighting styles out there, and our research really gets into some interesting kung fu styles.
Yes. We've got Wing Chun, Shaolin Kung Fu, Praying Mantis, all with their unique approach to combat. It's really fascinating to see how these traditional arts translate to real-world fighting.
Let's start with Wing Chun, a style known for its speed, efficiency, and something called centerline theory.
I've heard of it, but I'll admit I'm a little fuzzy on the details.
Well, simply put, centerline theory is about protecting your own vital areas while simultaneously attacking your opponent's centerline, their most vulnerable points. It's about efficiency of movement, directness, and exploiting openings.
So it's not just about blocking and striking, it's about using your body's positioning to create both offense and defense at the same time.
Exactly. Think rapid strikes, chain punches, elbows, low kicks, all designed to overwhelm an opponent quickly, often before they even realize what's happening.
It sounds like something Bruce Lee would have appreciated. That blend of speed, adaptability, directness. What about Shaolin Kung Fu? I always thought that was more about like elaborate forms and mystical practices.
Shaolin Kung Fu is actually an umbrella term. It covers a variety of styles developed over centuries at the Shaolin Temple.
Oh, okay.
And it's known for its versatility, incorporating strikes, kicks, throws, joint locks, even acrobatics.
So it's not just about flashy moves. There's real combat effectiveness behind it.
Oh, absolutely. And one technique that really highlights this is the iron palm technique.
Iron palm.
Yeah. Through rigorous conditioning, Shaolin practitioners, they can deliver incredibly powerful strikes with their bare hands. We're talking breaking boards, bricks.
That's more than just a strong grip, right? It's like channeling power through specific points of contact. Makes you wonder how much force the human body can actually generate with the right training.
And then we have Praying Mantis Kung Fu. This one's all about deception, rapid strikes to pressure points, controlling an opponent's movements.
It sounds almost predatory, like using an opponent's strength against them.
Exactly. Praying mantis fighters, they're known for their speed and agility, mimicking the movements of a mantis. They use feints, misdirection to create openings, then attack vulnerable points, disrupt their opponent's balance and flow.
It's a style that seems to rely on both offense and defense, transitioning seamlessly between the two. This kung fu exploration is already making me rethink what deadly really means in combat.
It's not just about brute force, it's about precision, timing, understanding weaknesses.
Now, this brings us to an interesting bridge between the traditional world of kung fu and the modern applications of combat. Our sources, they get into how MMA techniques can be really practical for real-world self-defense.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I've always wondered how those skills actually translate, outside the controlled environment of the ring.
Well, what makes MMA so valuable for self-defense is its versatility. It prepares you for a variety of scenarios: strikes, grapples, takedowns.
It's about having the tools to adapt to anything.
Exactly. Our sources, they highlight some basic but incredibly effective techniques.
Okay, like what?
Well, for example, the jab and the cross. Simple punches, but they're crucial for creating space, controlling distance.
Yeah, everyone knows the jab.
Right, but it's mastering those basics that's what separates the good fighters from the great ones.
Makes sense. So the jab is your rangefinder, keeping an opponent at bay. The cross is your power punch, the one that can deliver a knockout blow.
Exactly.
Now, what about those close quarters situations? Like if someone tries to grab or grapple, I've always wondered what the best response is.
Well, our sources mentioned elbow and knee strikes. They're brutal, close-range options targeting vulnerable areas: the head, ribs, groin.
Makes sense. You don't always have the space to throw a full power punch in those situations.
And of course, takedown defense is critical, especially in real-world scenarios. Many attacks, they involve trying to take someone to the ground.
So how do you stop that?
Well, there are a lot of techniques, but one of the key ones is called sprawling, using your hips and legs to prevent someone from getting their arms around your legs.
It sounds like self-defense isn't just about knowing how to fight. It's about understanding how to avoid a fight, how to get out of a dangerous situation.
Exactly. Awareness, avoidance, de-escalation. These are all just as important as the physical techniques. But if you do find yourself in a situation where you need to defend yourself, having those tools, those skills, it can make all the difference.
This is already so much more than just a list of names, We're really getting into the minds of these fighters, their strategies, the philosophies behind their styles. It's fascinating how this concept of deadliness has evolved.
And we've only just scratched the surface. We've got plenty more to explore, including some of the lesser-known kung fu styles that have proven really effective.
I can't wait. This is shaping up to be one of our most insightful deep dives yet.
It's amazing how these kung fu styles, often associated with tradition and, ancient practices, can be so effective in modern combat.
Yeah, it's like they've stood the test of time, proving those core combat principles still hold up. Even against all the modern fighting styles we talked about, Wing Chun, Shaolin Kung Fu. But our research goes into a few others I'm really curious about. What about Hung Gar? I always think about those powerful stances, those strikes.
Right, Hung Gar practitioners, they focus on generating immense power from those rooted stances, almost like a tiger or a crane ready to unleash an attack. Heavy punches, low kicks, and techniques like the tiger claw.
Tiger claw? Wow.
Now, a strike designed to rip into an opponent's flesh, causing serious damage.
It's interesting how many martial arts take inspiration from the animal kingdom, using those movements and principles to enhance their fighting techniques.
It speaks to that connection between humans and nature, doesn't it? How we can learn and adapt from the world around us.
Totally. Now, what about Choi Li Fut? That one's a bit of a mystery to me.
Choi Li Fut is interesting. It blends northern and southern kung fu styles. So you get this unique blend of long-range and close-quarters techniques. It's known for those wide-ranging strikes, circular movements, seamlessly transitioning between offense and defense.
So they can keep their opponents guessing, never sure where that next attack's coming from.
Exactly. Choi Li Fut fighters are incredibly versatile. They can attack from a distance or overwhelm you up close with a flurry of punches and backhands, constantly keeping their opponents off balance.
This next one really surprised me. Our research included Tai Chi, which I always associated with slow, meditative movements, more about health and well-being than fighting.
I get that, but Tai Chi is a very effective internal martial art. It focuses on harnessing Qi, or internal energy, to deliver powerful strikes and throws.
So it's not just about moving slowly, it's about cultivating that internal power, using it to control your movements, your opponent.
Exactly. It might appear gentle, but Tai Chi practitioners can generate a lot of force by channeling their energy through those specific points of contact. It's about redirecting an opponent's force, disrupting their balance, exploiting openings.
Like a hidden power waiting to be unleashed. What about Northern Shaolin Kung Fu? I've always been fascinated by those high kicks, those acrobatic movements.
Northern Shaolin fighters, known for their agility, their flexibility, their explosive power, launching those spinning kicks with incredible speed and force, and their ability to jump and flip, it makes them really unpredictable.
It's like watching a martial arts movie. Those movements seem almost superhuman, defying gravity.
It's a testament to their dedication, the years of training it takes. And finally, Southern Praying Mantis Kung Fu. Unlike the Northern style, it focuses on trapping techniques and rapid strikes to pressure points, like the insect it's named after.
So it's more about precision and control than the flashy acrobatic movements.
Exactly. Southern Praying Mantis is all about controlling an opponent, trapping their limbs, unleashing a series of quick, devastating attacks to pressure points, disrupting their balance, their flow.
Almost like a surgeon, you know?
Oh, yeah.
Targeting those specific areas to disable an opponent. This Kung Fu exploration, it's been eye-opening, to say the least. It's made me realize deadliness can take so many forms. Brute force to pinpoint precision, internal energy to fluid movement.
It's about finding what works best for you, honing those skills, understanding how to apply them. And speaking of applying skills effectively, our research also dives into the world of MMA and the legends who emerged from that crucible of combat.
The modern gladiators, battling it out in the octagon. What is it about MMA that seems to attract the most skilled and dangerous fighters in the world?
Well, MMA forced fighters to become well-rounded, to master multiple disciplines in order to, compete at the highest level. And that's what led to some truly remarkable athletes rising to the top.
We already talked about Fedor Emelianenko, but there are so many others who deserve a spot on this list of deadliest fighters. Take Georges St-Pierre, GSP, multi-time UFC champion. Dominated with a combination of wrestling, striking, and a tactical mind, always a step ahead.
GSP was a master strategist. He'd analyze his opponents, meticulously breaking down their strengths and weaknesses. Then he'd formulate a game plan to exploit them.
He was like a chess grandmaster, always thinking several moves ahead, anticipating reactions, countering before they could even materialize.
And then there's Anderson Silva, longest reigning UFC champion in history. Elusive movement, knockout power. Legendary, puzzle that many fighters couldn't solve.
I remember watching his fights, being in awe. His ability to avoid strikes effortlessly, counter with lightning speed, ending the fight often with a spectacular knockout.
He understood timing, distance, leverage, and used them to his advantage. Don't forget John Jones, considered by many to be one of the most naturally gifted fighters ever.
Jones was so creative using those unorthodox techniques. Long reach, unpredictable striking, controlling opponents on the ground, a dominant force for years.
His style, it was almost improvisational, adapting, creating openings, capitalizing on mistakes. And then there's Khabib Nurmagomedov, the undefeated champion, retired with a perfect record, relentless grappling, just smothering his opponents.
His style was so unique, almost primal in its effectiveness. It wasn't just about taking them down, it was about trapping them, controlling them, and then slowly wearing them down with that relentless pressure.
Embodied the concept of ground and pound, taking his opponents to the mat, raining down blows, forcing them to submit or just endure the punishment, a dominant style.
Now, striking power. There are a few names that really stand out in our research. We talked about Mike Tyson. But what about Conor McGregor? He brought a new level of showmanship to MMA, and that knockout power, undeniable.
McGregor, he captivated audiences with the trash talk, the confidence, the hype, but he backed it up with incredible striking, especially that left hand. He could end a fight in an instant.
Psychological warfare, getting into their heads, then finishing them with speed, power, and precision. Our sources also mention Randy Couture, known for his wrestling, but he also surprised people with his striking, especially in the clinch.
Couture was a master of dirty boxing, using the clinch to control his opponents, wearing them down, creating openings.
Even a fighter known for one skill set can surprise you with their versatility.
And speaking of versatility, Manny Pacquiao, the Filipino boxing legend. Titles in 8 weight classes. Speed, power, relentless aggression. One of the most exciting fighters to watch. That left hook, Legendary.
A force of nature, constantly moving, throwing punches from all angles, like trying to fight a swarm of bees. But deadliness isn't just about striking, right? We've got to talk about grappling, some of the greatest grapplers of all time.
Absolutely. Grappling, it's about control, leverage, manipulating your opponent, gaining a dominant position. And there are a few names that stand out, true masters.
Dan Gable,
All right.
legendary Olympic wrestler, considered one of the most technically proficient wrestlers ever, flawless takedowns, suffocating control, dictating the pace of a match with incredible precision.
He was an innovator. New techniques, strategies, revolutionized wrestling. And of course, Khabib Nurmagomedov again. His style, it was truly unique.
Like watching a boa constrictor, he'd take them down, trap them, and then just systematically break down their defenses.
Positional control,
Yeah.
anticipating movements, countering before they could react.
Yeah, Dumi and Maya, Brazilian jiu-jitsu specialists, incredible submission skills.
Maya was a technician, a true artist, on the ground, seamlessly transitioning between positions, finding those openings, securing submissions, speed, precision, leverage.
His understanding of body mechanics, it was unparalleled. Even the most complex techniques looked effortless, and his opponents, they often felt like they were trapped, unable to escape. And Frank Shamrock, first UFC middleweight champion, also known for his submission game, one of the first to really understand the power of submissions in MMA.
He was a pioneer, paved the way for future generations. Now, the modern era, there are a few names already writing their own chapters in the history books.
It's amazing to see how the sport evolves. New generations pushing the boundaries. Who are some of these modern-day warriors shaping the future of combat?
Israel Adesanya, current UFC middleweight champion, a prime example of a modern striking genius.
I've seen his fights. His style is incredible. It's like kickboxing, fluid movement, pinpoint accuracy. It looks effortless.
The master of distance management, counter-striking, finding those openings. His footwork is amazing. Controlling the octagon, dictating the pace. Henry Cejudo, Olympic gold medalist in wrestling, captured titles in both the flyweight and bantamweight divisions.
Well-rounded fighter. To excel in wrestling and then transition to MMA, dominate in 2 weight classes. That's incredible.
His wrestling, it gave him a solid foundation, but he developed excellent striking, a well-rounded game, adapting to opponents, fighting styles, always evolving, seeking to improve, expand his skill set.
And the female fighters dominating the sport, Amanda Nunes, for example, widely considered the greatest female fighter of all time. Power, striking, grappling. She's a complete fighter.
Her dominance is a testament to her skill, her athleticism, her determination. A force of nature. Her legacy will inspire generations to come. And lastly, Stipe Miocic. Heavyweight powerhouse. Boxing and wrestling. Held the UFC heavyweight title multiple times. Incredible durability, knockout power. Miocic proves that even in the heavyweight division, a well-rounded skill set, a strategic mind, it can make all the difference. He can end it with one punch, but he's also comfortable taking it to the ground.
It's amazing to see how the sport has evolved from those early days of like bare-knuckle brawling to the highly technical strategic battles we see today. But as we discussed, the physical skills, they're only part of it. What about the mental game? That psychological aspect of combat. Our sources go into some fascinating examples of how the mental game can make or break a fighter, even with incredible physical abilities.
The mental side of combat, it's crucial. Mindset, focus, resilience, overcoming adversity, not just in the ring, but in training, in life.
Pushing your limits, facing your fears, finding that inner strength to keep going. Our research highlights some compelling examples of how this plays out.
Ronda Rousey, for example, she was a dominant force in women's MMA, undefeated for years. But after her first loss, she struggled mentally.
It's a reminder that even the toughest, most gifted fighters are human. They have doubts, fears, and they have to find ways to manage those emotions, overcome those challenges.
The pressure they face,
Yeah.
the expectations, the mental toll. And then you have Georges St-Pierre, known for his incredible mental fortitude, coming back from injuries, setbacks, always finding a way to win.
His focus, adapting to circumstances, composure under pressure, remarkable. His mental toughness was key to his success, allowing him to persevere, emerge victorious.
His story is inspiring. It shows that mental resilience, it's a skill you can cultivate, train, hone, just like physical techniques. And it's a lesson that goes way beyond combat sports. The ability to control our minds, stay positive, persevere. These are valuable skills in all aspects of life.
This deep dive has been eye-opening, revealing that deadliness, it's a multifaceted concept. It goes beyond physical prowess.
It's about strategy, adaptability, mental fortitude, the will to succeed. regardless of the obstacles.
And as martial arts continue to evolve, we'll see new styles, techniques, and generations of fighters pushing the boundaries.
An exciting time to be a fan. The landscape is always shifting. There's always something new to learn and appreciate.
I think this deep dive has some unexpected takeaways for everyone, even if we never step into a ring.
I agree. This exploration of deadliness, it's highlighted things like situational awareness, confidence, de-escalation. Valuable skills for anyone.
Being aware of your surroundings, projecting confidence, understanding how to avoid dangerous situations. And if you do need to defend yourself, knowing even a few basic techniques can make a huge difference.
It's about empowerment, right? Having the knowledge and skills to protect yourself, physically and mentally.
Absolutely. So as we wrap up our deep dive, I hope you've gained a new appreciation for the complexities of combat, the individuals who've dedicated their lives to mastering these arts.
It's a world of constant evolution, where strength, skill, and strategy intertwine, creating something truly remarkable.
Maybe this has sparked a curiosity in you to learn more, explore a new martial art, or just think about your own personal safety in a different way.
The journey never really ends.
Thanks for joining us. Until next time, stay curious, stay safe, and stay sharp. Man, what a journey. From Bruce Lee to, the modern MMA fighters, we've covered so much ground. What are your biggest takeaways from all this?
Honestly, the thing that keeps coming back to me is just how many different ways there are to approach combat. I mean, we saw everything from the raw power of Mike Tyson to that, fluid grace of Anderson Silva. We saw Khabib's relentless grappling and the way GSP just outsmarted his opponents. It shows that deadliness is not a one-size-fits-all thing.
Right. It's not just about, hitting hard or being the most physically intimidating. It's about so much more than that. Strategy, technique, mental toughness, all the things we talked about.
And the way martial arts have evolved, it's amazing. What was considered deadly 100 years ago, well, it's changed. But those core principles, strategy, technique, mental strength, they never go out of style.
Totally. It's about understanding the nuances, the way physical and mental skills work together, and being able to adapt no matter what you're facing.
Here's something to think about. As martial arts keep evolving and new styles, new strategies emerge, how do you think the very definition of deadliness might change?
Wow, yeah. It makes you wonder what the next generation of fighters will bring. What kind of innovations will we see? What new combinations of styles and techniques will they come up with?
Exciting times to be a fan of combat sports, that's for sure. The landscape's always shifting, always something new to learn and appreciate.
I think this deep dive has some lessons for all of us, even if we never, set foot in a ring.
Absolutely. When we explore this idea of deadliness, we see how important things like situational awareness are. Confidence, de-escalation. Those are skills anyone can benefit from.
Being aware of your surroundings, projecting confidence, knowing how to avoid potentially dangerous situations. And if you do find yourself in a situation where you have to defend yourself, well, knowing even a few basic techniques can make a huge difference.
It's about empowering yourself, having the knowledge and skills to protect yourself, not just physically, but mentally too.
Couldn't have said it better myself. So wrapping up our deep dive into the world of the deadliest fighters, I hope you've all gained a new understanding of how complex combat really is, and a new appreciation for the people who dedicate their lives to, mastering these arts.
The world of constant evolution. Strength, skill, strategy, they all come together to create something truly amazing.
And maybe, just maybe, this has made you curious to learn more, to explore a new martial art, or even just to think differently about your own personal safety.
The journey never really ends.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive, everyone. Until next time, stay curious, stay safe, and stay sharp.